Good morning and welcome back to the Jornada REDIBAN 2026. We're very excited to know that thousands of you participated actively yesterday. I'm very excited to be here with you guys. Welcome teachers from all over the country. And we're seeing people from literally all over, from Veracruz, Ixhuatlan, Durango, Chalco, Mexico City, obviously, Veracruz again. We're seeing teachers from Tabasco, beautiful places. Thank you, teachers, for being here. What do you think of the sessions yesterday? Please write down on the chat, how do you feel? And also, what do you expect to learn, to gain today? Briefly write down in the chat, what is it that you're expecting to learn? Everybody joining from Ciudad de Mexico, from Aguascalientes too, right? Hidalgo. So how do you feel yesterday? What do you expect to learn today? More new academic ideas. That's awesome. Yes, for sure. More strategies. Yesterday's were, oh, I lost that. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Look, cómo hacer que los alumnos aprendan de manera correcta. They were very nice, kind. They show you the differences of students. Yes. New strategies of teaching, acquire as much learning as possible. Thank you, guys. Yeah, keep that in mind to see if you achieve that at the end of the sessions, but I'm pretty sure that you will. All right. And as you know, you can go back to watch any of the sessions we had yesterday if you miss them. You can access the recordings using the link in the program. The recordings offer the option of listening to the sessions translated to Spanish if needed, and they will remain available to watch later. Las grabaciones ofrecen la opción de escuchar las sesiones traducidas al español, si así lo requieren o prefieren. On the other hand, remember that the REDIBAN number will be assigned based on the registration data once the Jornada REDIBAN is over. It is an internal COSAC process that will take some time. We have had a very enriching and positive environment during the event so far. So let me remind you about our house rules. You're welcome to post your comments and questions in the chat, making sure that you maintain respectful and positive communication. Remember that today, at the end of the sessions, we will post a link to a survey for you to answer and register your participation. Please make sure that your name, surname, and email address are correctly spelled. Otherwise, you might not get your certificate. So now, for our first session of the day, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Andrew Starling. Andrew is an ELT publishing leader, content creator, author, and academic consultant with more than 20 years experience developing award-winning print and digital learning materials for international publishers. He specializes in designing innovative, pedagogy-driven educational content, leading multidisciplinary editorial teams, and creating curriculum-aligned resources that enhance learner engagement. In today's talk, he will explore how effective English language teaching depends on selecting and using materials that meet learners' needs and support meaningful communication. This is a talk we don't want to miss. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, Helda, and good morning, everyone. I've also been looking at the comments, section, the chat, and I've just seen, that there are people from all over. There's Leon. Good morning, Leon. Even from places as far out as Tamaulipas. So it's fantastic to be with you all this morning. Thank you very, very much for joining and for listening in. My name is Andrew. I am currently sitting in the state of Morelos in the municipality of Huitzilac. Where are my people from Morelos? Let's see you in the chat. So yeah, very, very happy. It's a glorious day. And let's get straight into what it is that we're going to be talking about. And to do that, I think that's right. I think everyone can see that now. So, as Helder said, thank you very much, Helder. I am involved in the creation, the publication, the production of materials for English language learning. I was a teacher for a very, very long time. I now spend a lot of my time helping publishers to develop and create materials. And what we're going to be looking at this morning for the next 45, 50 minutes or so is just some strategies and some techniques to take into account when we are designing our own materials. Obviously, we'll be talking a little bit about the role of course books, but more importantly about what it is that should drive selection, adaptation, if you like, and just general use of effective materials for learning in our classrooms. I would like you please to make as much use of the chat as you can. I'm multitasking this morning, so I have one eye on the chat, I have one eye on the slides, and I'm also looking at my notes here on my big screen. I know there's a little bit of a delay from you hearing me, you responding in the chat, and then me seeing the chat. So we'll try and take that into account. Don't worry if I don't respond to your question or your comment straight away. It just means that it hasn't really got to me yet. Yes, good morning, everyone that's saying hi. Hi to Vera Cruz as well. Okay, let's get into it. This is hopefully what we'll be talking about this morning. And when I say talking about it, I would like you all please to contribute, to give your ideas. Say whether you agree, say whether you don't agree, that's fine. And I'll be calling on you anyway. There are certain moments in the presentation where you will see this sort of chat icon, and that means that I would like you to actually specifically put something in the chat about the topic that we're talking about. But apart from those moments, just please feel free to just to contribute, give ideas, share experiences as well from your own teaching. So we'll start by looking at what makes effective materials. What do we mean by materials? What is a material? And then we'll go into talking about designing, adapting, and then finally evaluating as well. Some ideas for evaluating materials. Very, very important part of the process as well. Very often we put materials into the classroom, students work with the materials, but then we don't really do much in the way of evaluating and considering if they worked, how they worked. Did you get the result that you wanted? And then a quick word, of course, about artificial intelligence and materials development. And then we'll just sum up with the key takeaways from today. And that's the order of the day for today. So what makes materials effective? And I think this is a very, very important question. It's a good one to start with as well. At the end of the day, when we are using materials with our classes, we do want to make sure that what we're doing is as effective as possible. And we also need to bear in mind that sometimes, and it's happened to me, it happens to everybody, we take materials into a classroom because we saw the YouTube clip or we read the article or we heard the song and we as teachers really liked it, so therefore we take it into the classroom. But that doesn't necessarily by itself mean that it's going to be an effective material. There are other considerations as well to take into account. And it reminds me a little bit of when I was working in Mexico City back in the 90s. And there was a particular song that came out, something about a yellow lemon tree. The older teachers among us will probably remember that. And it was a very popular song, and it was on the radio all the time. It was a real hit. I can't remember the name of the group or the singer. If anybody remembers, they can share the name. But it was something about a yellow lemon tree. I'm sure you can hear it now in your heads. There was a point where you could hear in an afternoon at the school that I worked at, every classroom, you could hear this song was playing as teachers were using it. Yes, it's your, I wouldn't say it was my favorite song, but it was, yeah. And so every teacher was using it, and they were all doing, you know, the same activity. And I'm sure you could, oh, Fool's Garden. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. And they were all using the same activity, which obviously was a gap fill activity. And I think it was for the simple past as well. And it was great, and everyone recognized it. It was a great song, but that by itself didn't necessarily mean that it was particularly effective for learning. Okay, so what makes materials effective? Let's have a look at this activity. What I'd like to do very, very quickly is to have a quick look at it. I apologize if you're like me and you're a little bit short-sighted. Hopefully it is big enough for you to see, but just have a quick look at this. And the question is, would you use this activity? All right. And then it's you've got the chat sign. So that means I'd like you to just share your comments, please, in the chat. A, yes, I would use it as it is, exactly as it is. B, I would use it, but I would adapt it. Or C, no, I would not use this and I would replace it with something else. Okay, we've got some B's, B, adapt, B, adapt. This is interesting, adapt. Okay, thank you very much. Overwhelmingly B, according to the level of my group. That's a very, very important consideration here. So this is something that I found online, I found on the internet and thought, well, okay, that's quite a typical exercise. Present simple, fill in the conversation with the words provided. On the face of it, it does seem like quite a good activity. Obviously, grammar focused or grammar and vocabulary focused. You know, it looks okay for the classroom, but it's interesting that the overwhelming response is B. You're all saying, or most of you are saying, that you would use it, but you would adapt it. Yeah. Now, you'd think that some materials are actually intrinsically effective. Like, for example, the sort of the lemon tree thing. You'd think, oh yeah, it's a great song or whatever, and it's, you know, it's got to be effective. Or you would look at this and you would say, well, this is grammar. Yeah, it's a gap fill, it's a conversation. This has got to be good material. It's got to be effective. Yeah. Now, it's also important to distinguish between something that's good and something that's effective. It could be good. This is quite a good exercise, but I don't know how effective it would actually be, particularly when we consider individual contexts. And that's something that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So you'd think that some materials are intrinsically effective, but not necessarily. Yeah. So would you use this activity? So maybe the answer is yes, but it depends. Let me just move on. Okay. It depends. And why does it depend? Well, it depends on decisions. Okay. There's no universally good or effective material. Yeah. The value, and this is important, the value of a material depends on a number of things. It depends on the learners, it depends on the context, it depends on the objective or objectives, and it depends on the use as well. So all of this then influence and determine, yeah, how good or how effective a material is going to be. Okay, and I can see in the chat, well done, yes, Anaberta, that's why you adapt it. Yeah, fantastic, definitely, completely agree there. Decisions then, it's all about decisions. What then counts as material? Yeah, what is a material? Well, quite simply, which of these then have you used in your classes? Yeah, what have we got here? Let's have a look. In the chat, we've got, can you identify the types of materials? First one's obvious. Yeah, YouTube clips. I think below that, we could call that a photograph or some sort of visual. In the middle there, we've got what looks like a worksheet. Which of these have you used, and which do you use most? So we've got a YouTube video, we've got a photograph or some sort of visual. We have worksheets. You can see just next to the worksheet there, we've got a WhatsApp chat. Yeah, how many of you have used WhatsApp for teaching? This is something obviously that is, I don't know whether it's controversial, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it's a reality, we can't get away from it, the use of artificial intelligence. How many of us have used AI to create lessons, to create materials? That's something we'll talk about in a little bit. And then finally, obviously, we've got the good old-fashioned course book, which still obviously is a main source of material. So we've got people saying that they use all of them. ChatGPT, yeah, we'll be talking about that in a little bit. But the point here is really just about anything can be used as material, just about anything. If you can find a use for it in the classroom, then you can take it in and you can make use of it. Yeah. So materials really, we can say, are anything that teachers and learners, can use to facilitate language learning. Yeah, YouTube, AI, myself. Okay, so you teachers as materials. Okay, that's an interesting concept. That's maybe a topic for another presentation. Can teachers be considered as materials? But anyway, so anything really that you can find that you can take into the classroom that's not going to hurt anybody, and that facilitates language learning. Okay, there's a bit of a definition there of materials then, but there is a bit of a catch. Okay, yes, anything can be materials if they facilitate language learning, but there is a catch. Maybe you can kind of guess what that catch is. It's very, very simple, and that is that materials themselves don't teach. Music, yes, thank you very much. Podcasts, fantastic. Yeah, all of this stuff is material potential. Reels and video, realia, TikToks, yeah, absolutely. Online quizzes, WhatsApp. I mean, literally, there is not a limitless, but almost a limitless source of things that can be used as materials. But by themselves, materials don't do the teaching. Okay, What does the teaching? Well, it's a combination, or the learning rather. It's a combination of the materials themselves together with decisions that you as teachers make. Yeah, and remember we talked about context, we talked about the learners themselves, and how you use the materials. There are lots of decisions to be made when we're thinking about materials. And then obviously we need learner engagement. And then those three things together don't guarantee learning, but they at least provide the situation or the context or the opportunity, the conditions, if you like, for learning. Okay, so materials, but materials with decision and learner engagement are going to provide opportunities for learning. So far, so good. We've got some lovely comments in the chat, and that's really, if you like, the central philosophy when we're talking about materials. They provide opportunities for learning, but teachers make the decisions about how those opportunities are used. Okay, but opportunities will vary enormously. Okay, and this is the next thing that we need to consider when we're talking about materials. The realities of the classroom. Now, I don't know how many people are currently online, but if there are 2,000 people, then we're talking about 2,000 realities, 2,000 classroom realities, because no two classrooms are the same. Yeah, and each classroom reality presents its own issues, its own challenges. For example, here we've got each of these icons is designed to represent a particular aspect of the class. Just trying to find it. There's the mouse. So we got this one here. The size of the groups. Size of the groups is important. Some materials can be used with larger groups. Some materials, other materials can't, for example, or it's more difficult to use the materials. So when we're looking at materials, we also need to have, an eye on how big our groups are, whether it's a group of 15, which is unusual, but more likely to be groups of 30, 40, 50, or even more. Yeah. Now then, how easy is it to make copies of 50 worksheets, and not just one? Let's say you're using 3 worksheets in a lesson. Suddenly, that's 150 worksheets. That's 150 photocopies. Yeah. So that's going to influence, how we use materials, not what we use, but how we use them. What does this represent? Well, different levels as well in the class. That's something else that's going to influence how and what we use in the classroom. It's very, 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 very common that the groups, particularly the big groups, contain a lot of different levels. Yeah, and giving everybody the same worksheet is not necessarily going to be effective learning for all students. Time, yeah, we don't have a whole lot of time. That will also then influence how we use materials, how much time we want to spend on materials. So time here is not just classroom time, it's also teacher time. Yeah, I know that you all have, many, many groups. It's very, very common for teachers to work in 2 or even 3 different places. And so your day is taken up with actually teaching, and you don't have a whole lot of time left over afterwards to prepare materials. It may be that your institution has a course book, yeah, and you may be expected to use the course book and not to deviate from it. Obviously, that's going to influence the choice of materials that you use. Do you use the, do you adapt the course book? Do you use it as is? Do you substitute? All of these, again, are decisions. Access to technology as well. It's lovely to have TikToks and use TikToks and WhatsApps and YouTube videos, but will your institution have the infrastructure to be able to reproduce these things in class? Do you have a beamer, a projector? Do you have internet? Are you allowed to use the internet? So all of these things are important. And then assessment as well plays an important. What are the requirements, for assessment? It's great if you're using very, very communicative materials that you've adapted, but at the end of the day, the students have to pass the assessment, whether it's formative during the course or whether it's summative at the end of the course. And, if the materials that you use will need to be able to lead students towards the assessment. It's no good assessing assessing one way and then having materials that develop abilities and skills and knowledge that are not going to be appropriate for the assessment. That's the effect of assessment on teaching. That's a whole different subject. Motivation as well is something that plays a prescribed or plays a role rather as well. So all of these things, and teacher load, the amount of work the teacher has as well is important. Obviously, as I mentioned, you have a lot of work. There are lots of groups, lots of students, and then suddenly you're finding that you're having to prepare materials for not just 50 students, but for 100, 150, or even 200. And all of these things are important to take into account. And every reality is different. Every reality is different. It's not fair to say, that all classrooms are the same. They are clearly not. Okay. An eye on the time. Yeah, we're okay for time. So let's talk then about, designing materials and look at some ideas and some strategies for you to think about and to take away. So this is this talk is a little bit like that saying, give a man, teach a man to fish. No, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, or whatever it is, and you feed him for life, whatever it is. So the idea is to look at the strategies and the techniques that you can then go away and apply. So we will be looking at some examples of activities, but we'll be focusing a bit more on the techniques and the strategies that drive the examples, which I think is much more useful for you to have an understanding behind designing. And we can consider materials design or decision, if you like, as a kind of cycle, which I am going to show you. Now, important thing to remember is that these are fairly universal. This is not Andrew Starling, and his fantastic ideas. This is something that's fairly universally accepted. And in fact, if you have taken materials design courses, then you've probably come across something like this. Each person tends to give their own sort of spin or put their own spin on things. But most materials courses for designing and creating materials will present something very, very similar. Because the principles are universal. In fact, the British Council, quick parenthesis, I think the British Council sponsored a materials design course very, very successfully. I think there were, 100 teachers that took the course. And the contents of the course are very, very similar. Elements are very similar to what we're seeing now. So, we can think about materials in terms of decisions, as we've said. The first decision is choosing what it is that you want to use. And then from there, once you've decided, oh, I'm going to use a video, or I'm going to use a podcast, or a worksheet, or a song, or whatever it is, then we need to think about the suitability of the material. Okay, it's a lovely song, Lemon Tree, or it's a very, very nice YouTube clip, or a TikTok, or whatever it is, but is it going to be suitable for my reality? Yeah. And just because, you know, a colleague from a different state, or even from the same school, used it successfully with their class, doesn't mean necessarily that it will be effective for your class. And that's something that we also need to understand. Our realities are so unique that not everything will work, even if, you know, literally the class next door, it worked very well. It doesn't mean that it will work very well for you. And you shouldn't feel bad if you do something and it doesn't work. I personally think it's better to, you know, to try and use materials, evaluate them and say, well, that didn't work, you know, because within that, it didn't work, is learning for you as well, so that, you know, you get a very good idea of what will work. If you don't test anything, if you don't try anything, you will not have that same appreciation of what works in your context. And then decisions. Well, do I adapt it? Do I use it as it is? Do I leave it alone? Or do I modify it? Do I change it in some way? And if I change it, what do I change? How do I change it? Why do I change it as well? So all of these are questions that we need to be asking. And then, you know, it's going from there to using it and deploying it in the classroom. Yeah. But as I mentioned, it's tempting just to kind of use a material and then stand back a little bit and say, well, you know, yeah, they seemed happy. The students seemed happy. That's not going to be enough really to understand how effective. We need to be able to evaluate as well the material. And we'll do that through a bit of a checklist or a framework, if you like, which we'll look at a bit later on. And then once you've evaluated the material, we can go back to, again, the selection process. Do I use this material again? You know, is it suitable? Yes, it is. If it's not, then we're going to maybe discard it and look for something else. If we decide, well, yeah, we are going to use it again, it is suitable, but I'm going to just modify a bit more than I did last time. So you get into this cycle of you know, selecting it, assessing suitability, adapting, using, evaluating. And if you are keeping the same material, if you go through this cycle enough, then eventually you will end up with a very, very effective learning material, because you've been through this cycle so many times that the material has become super adapted, super refined for your reality and your context. There's a little note there at the bottom. So don't start with a worksheet. Don't start with a grammar point. Don't start with technology. I mean, we've been saying, oh, I'm going to use this song, I'm going to use this podcast, I'm going to use this worksheet. But what we should really be starting with is the question, well, what do I want my learners to be able to do? Yeah, we need to start with what learners should be able to do. Yeah, or what we want them, or what we need them, or what they need to be able to do. So that's the starting point. And that means starting with what? Let me just find the mouse. Okay, it's because I'm moving between two screens. It means starting with an objective or objectives. Yeah. So here we have a possible then framework that we can use for designing, if you like, materials. We looked at the cycle for deciding which materials or how to use materials. So this is now for designing. And we should always be starting with an objective. Absolutely. Yeah. What is it that I want my students to be able to do? There's a comment there. Anybody know how to take today's attendance? I don't know, but I'll leave that in the video for somebody to take up. So objectives, language, obviously. What language, do we want students to use, or do students need to use? And then obviously the context is going to be important. So we're building this up. We're starting with an objective. We're adding the language, then we're wrapping that in the context as well to provide then the task, to get the task. Okay, so we haven't gone straight into the task. We've considered what it is we want students to do, what language should they be using, how is that affected by the context or influenced by the context, and then that's going to give us a task. And then it's not just the task, it's considering, well, what support do students need? Yeah. And then finally, how am I going to provide students with feedback? Yeah. Or how are they going to get feedback from the learning task? Okay. And the idea here is, yes, you're designing backwards, from learning. You'll think about the learning first. Yeah. When we're designing materials, the temptation is to start with the material itself because it looks good. It's a nice YouTube clip. It's a great worksheet. It's a fantastic article. And then we try and fit everything around the material. Yeah. What we're saying is start with the objective. Yeah. Start with the objective. So far, so good. Okay. So thinking about objective, language, context, task, support, and feedback, it's over to you. What I've got is an example for you, which I'm going to show you. Okay. Each part of the example links to one of the steps or one of the parts of the framework. What I would like you to do is to look at the information in each of these boxes in the example. Let me just get the mouse. Okay, so I need to go here. Here we are. And see if you can match each of these to the framework. Okay, we've got A, B, C, D, E, and F. And each of the box contains some information. Okay, so for example, in A, it says students can ask for and give directions. We've got a visitor asks for directions in the student's town. Student A has a map, student B has. So all of these elements make up an activity or a material. Okay, so objective, language, context, task, support, and feedback. Let's hear from you in the chat. What do we think A is? Okay, yeah, possibly. What about B? Possibly objective. Okay, A objective. Okay, yeah. B, a visitor asks for directions in the student's town. Is that objective? Is it language? Is it context? Task? Support? What do we think? Yeah. What about C? Student A has a map. Student B has to find 3 places. What do you think that could be? Objective? Possibly. B, context. B, context. Okay. What about D? Students share and compare their routes. Okay, Okay. Useful expressions written on a whiteboard or on the whiteboard. What does that sound like? We've got here C is the task. Okay, could be. And then finally, we've got, well, I think F is quite obvious, right? F, I think everyone would say is the language itself. Okay. All right, let's have a look. Let's have a look. So you can congratulate yourself if you got this right. Yeah, so students can ask for and give directions would be the objective here. And that's where we would start from, yeah, when we are designing our material or when we're selecting or looking for material, yeah. Language, this is the language that we want students to use. Where is the coffee shop? Yeah, go straight, it's next to the library. Yeah, turn left, turn right, etc., etc. A visitor asks for directions in the student's town. That's the context. Yeah, and that's important as well. Context is important for a better understanding of the activity itself. Task, okay, I think we all got that. One student has the map, the other student then has to find 3 places. Useful expressions written on the whiteboard as support. Yeah, it's that language that you think students may need to remember to be able to carry out the activity. And then finally, students share and compare their routes. That's going to be the feedback, as well as obviously feedback that you would give on language. But this feedback is feedback on how successful, yeah, the students have been, because if the routes are the same, then it means the students were successful. One student was successful in communicating the instructions. The other student was successful in receiving them, understanding them, and interpreting them and putting them into a route. Yeah. So that's feedback on how successful they were with the activity. Then obviously you as teacher would provide feedback on other aspects, such as, for example, language. Okay. So we've been talking about designing. One of the big questions I think that I hear a lot is, well, you know, I'm not very good at creating materials. And to be fair, not everybody is. It's not something that everybody can do or likes to do. The good news is that you don't need to create something new. And usually, yeah, you don't. Usually you can actually adapt. And there's a principle here, and that is that adaptation is often, not always, but is often much more effective and efficient than creating from scratch. Okay. And remember that the word adaptation can mean different things as well. I mean, maybe in your mind, adaptation is, you know, completely changing the material. Not necessarily. Adaptation can be quite small, and we'll look at that in a minute. The good thing is that we don't need to create new materials necessarily. Yeah, particularly if we already have materials that we can take look at and say, fine. And we can adapt in a number of ways. Yeah, we can simplify the materials, make them easier to understand. Perhaps it's something that it was designed for a higher level, perhaps, but then you can bring it to the level of your class, yeah, by simplifying it, localizing it, making it a little more synchronized to your context, personalize, communicativize, which I don't even think is a word, but it is now, making it more communicative, and then, differentiating. So we can differentiate materials so that if we have a very large group and we have lots of different levels, we can, adapt a material in such a way that it becomes usable and efficient for the different levels within the classroom. And that is something as simple as, changing the questions for a text. Yeah, we can have a text that we're using on a worksheet, and we can have different sets of questions. Some questions are for students with a higher level in the class. Other questions are for students that don't quite have that level. Yeah, so we can use the same text, but with a slightly different focus for each level of students that we have in our class. So then adaptation, is the way to go usually. Unless, of course, you like creating materials and you happen to be good at it, then fine, knock yourself out. But for most of us, adapting is a pretty good way to go. Okay, and there are different ways to adapt. For example, let me just find the mouse. There we go. And adapting is about making choices, As I said, it's not about radical changes necessarily to the materials. It could be something as simple as just adapting the instructions, to make the instructions a little easier, or simplifying the instructions. But also we can adapt the level of support. We can maybe add a glossary to an activity, or we can add supporting language. We can obviously adapt the level of language. We can make a text, or we can make sentences or language easier or more difficult as well. If we find a good activity, what we think is a good activity, but it's a bit too low, then that's fine. We can take the activity and then just, increase the complexity of the language. There's lots really that we can adapt. The challenge, how we deliver it. I was talking about large groups. So it's not so easy to make 150 photocopies, but if you have the structure and you have the technology, it is much easier to project a worksheet and then have students, use their notebooks. And that way everybody gets the worksheet, but you haven't had to make, so many photocopies. Obviously, it depends on the infrastructure there, but it's the same activity. What we're changing, what we're adapting then is how we deliver it. It's the mode of delivery. Okay. It could be that we have a fantastic song that you see some song lyrics maybe, which is a great activity. And then you think, well, wouldn't it be good to also have the students listen to the song? Great. So you look for the song on Spotify or wherever you want to look for it, and then you bring that into the classroom. So the students have, the lyrics, and they do a listening activity at the same time. So there are lots of ways really or lots of things, different things we can do to adapt. And as we mentioned, there are different techniques for adapting. Just to remind ourselves, we can simplify, we can localize, we can personalize material, or we can make it more communicative, or we can communicativize it, and then we can obviously differentiate it for the different levels in our classroom. And here's an example. Here's a very, very simple example, a very fast example, a little mindful of time. But here's a very, very simple example. This is an activity that I just, it's a very typical activity. Complete the sentences using the present perfect. I'm fairly sure that all of you, or the majority of you, have done something like this at some point, maybe even this year. in the school year, or the school year that just finished rather. And I'm sure that you'll be using something like this in the next school year. So here we have a very, very standard, very common complete the sentences using the present perfect. Obviously, Maria has visited London, John has eaten sushi, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so if we apply then the principle of, for example, personalization, we don't have time to go through every technique, unfortunately, but if we apply the technique of personalization, then we get something, for example, like this. So it's the same activity, it's the same language point, yeah? I kept Maria because why not, you know? But instead of London, I mean, who has visited London in your class? I don't know. But I think a lot of people, you know, would have eaten red snapper, wachinango, you know, and then we've got the Odyssey, which is a bit more relevant and topical rather than seeing a famous actor. How many of us have seen a famous actor? Well, actually, not many. But I imagine that quite a few of your students will have seen the Odyssey, for example. Yeah, I left the plane because, okay, you know, why not? It's not that unusual now for people to travel by plane, but you know your context. I have visited Mexico City, for example. Yeah, so this now becomes a little more sort of personalized. And contextualized as well, localized. Yeah, maybe you've realized that where you teach, the Odyssey has just come onto come into the cinema. Doesn't have to be the Odyssey. I chose it because it's a, you know, it's a topical thing, but it could be anything. But the point is that you are thinking about your local context. Yeah, and by making it personalized and localized, there's much more chance that you know, you're going to engage students, and that's what we want. We want engaged students. Okay, and then if we take another example, that was personalization. Okay, we can take another example and we can say, well, we'll apply the principle of, I'm just trying to find the mouse, the principle of, there it is, of communicativeness. Yeah, so now suddenly we don't have the gap fill anymore. What we do have, though, is an activity that's going to require students to speak to each other, and I'm sure that you've done something like this. Yeah, so instead of, you know, Susana or Maria has visited Guadalajara, then what we're going to do is to set up an activity where students need to ask each other. Yeah, and what's the question? Yeah, it says find somebody who has, right? And then you give them the prompts and they have to obviously go around and make the question or ask the question. Have you visited Guadalajara? Answer, yes, I have. No, I haven't. Yeah, and then students make a note of the names. Yeah, have you eaten red snapper? Have you seen the Odyssey? Have you traveled by plane? Okay, and then they make a note of the names, and then they compare, if you like, with a partner, and they will. That's when they say things like, "Oh, well, Maria has visited Guadalajara. Pedro has eaten red snapper. Erica has seen the Odyssey." Yeah. So, you know, it's the tortas ahogadas in Guadalajara. I have actually eaten a torta ahogada once. I would not do it again because it was far too hot. But good question. Yeah, good question. The point is that you're taking an exercise that was, you know, designed by somebody who has no idea of your reality, and then it's taking it and adapting it and fitting it so that it is suitable for your reality. Okay, it's 11:15. I need to get a move on. Some of these are great comments there in the chat. Your parents have not seen the Odyssey. I haven't seen the Odyssey either. I'm going to wait until it comes out on Netflix. Who's eaten a quesadilla without cheese? These are brilliant. These are all fantastic examples. Yeah, it's all fantastic examples of making an activity, you know, a written activity, an individual activity, a silent activity, making it communicative. And it's a very, very simple example. Okay, right. AI. Now, we had a few comments here about ChatGPT and AI. It's everywhere. We can't ignore it. We shouldn't ignore it, but there are a few things to bear in mind. So here is a lesson, or an activity rather, that was generated with the use of artificial intelligence. Lesson title, The Professional Communication Mastery. The target audience is intermediate, B1, okay, adult learners. The time for the activity is 15 minutes. And it's a reading comprehension, but there are two parts to it. The first part is a reading. The second part is an activity, okay? So AI made this. My question to you is, would you use it? Okay, have a look at it, and have a look at it a little carefully. I'm going to give you a few seconds because of the delay. I'm going to give you a few seconds just to look at this activity and then decide, would you use it? And in fact, there are a few subtle problems with this activity. Okay, I think that's long enough. And we need to get a move on. I'm a bit conscious of time. So there are some problems with this activity. One of the big problems is the level. It says here the target audience is B1 because you asked ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it was. You said, can you give me a reading comprehension about professional communication? Yeah, because that's what you wanted. And then you put it into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT says, here is your activity, and you say, great. But let's look a little more carefully. There are a few problems with this. On the face of it, it looks great. You've got your reading text, you've got your activity, looks good. But if we sort of scratch the surface, we can see that the level of language here, yeah, doesn't match the level. This is not intermediate language. It's highly advanced C2 level vocabulary. In fact, it's probably even above C2 if that exists. We've got deleterious, we've got externalities, labyrinthine, matrix, engender. Yeah, this is going to overwhelm your B2 students. Yeah. We've also got, that's language, we've also got an issue with a very generic and unnatural context. The text is almost like a parody of corporate buzzwords. There's no human context. It's very dry and unengaging, and really it's quite useless for practical everyday communication. The vocabulary is very, very dense. Yeah. And then if we look at the task itself, it says discuss the text with a partner and fix these problems. But there's no definition of what the problems actually are. Students won't know if they're solving business problems, fixing the grammar, or rewriting the text. Yeah. And then finally, 15 minutes, I don't think so. I don't think that 15 minutes is going to be enough, for this, you know, definitely not. So it's, you know, the time management. So, you know, yes, AI can be useful. Yeah. the important question isn't, can AI create materials? It can. We know it can. Yeah. And I'm sure that most of you or all of you, yeah, have used AI to create materials. But that's not the question. The question is, or the important question is, can we recognize whether, yeah, they are good materials for our learners? Yeah. So the question is not, can AI produce materials? It's, can we as teachers then recognize whether the materials produced by AI are going to be good, suitable, effective? Okay. And then linked to that question is the question of whether the materials will work. Yeah. Will materials work? And here, then, we need to think, we're now moving towards the last part of the presentation, which is the evaluation. So we're going sort of from adaptation to evaluation. And there are 3 stages, really, we should think about when we're asking this question, will it actually work? So before using the material, we can look at it and say, will this work? While we're using the material, we can say, or we can ask ourselves, is it working? And then once the activity is finished, we can ask ourselves, did it work? Will it work? Is it working, or does it work? And did it work? Yeah. And this is something that we need to have in our mind pretty much all the time. It's okay having all these wonderful materials, but we need to be very ruthless a little bit with how we evaluate them. Okay. So questions really to ask. Questions to ask. What will my students learn from using this material? Will it work? We've talked about that. What will students actually do? And it's a very useful exercise to look at the material, and then in your mind is try and see your group, imagine your class using the material. And very often we can sort of identify problems or challenges by just visualizing. Yeah. And then once the material has been used, once the students have finished, then, we can ask ourselves, well, what support did they need? What information did I have to put on the blackboard? What supporting phrases or supporting language was missing, was necessary? Yeah. And did learning happen? That's a super important question. Did students learn from this? Okay. So these are all questions then that we need to ask. And, we can think about them in terms of this sort of checklist. Before and after, really, we can ask this at any time. Is there a clear purpose to this activity? Does it match the level? Does it connect with learners? Are they going to find it interesting and engaging? Does it provide support, or do I need to add support, like, a glossary or phrases or extra language? Yeah. And, does it, does it require meaningful language use? Yeah. Is the language that students use going to mean something to them? And is it suitable for my context? Will it work in my classroom? Not in a classroom, not in an imaginary classroom, in my actual classroom. Yeah. So these are all things that we need to think about when we are designing, adapting, and using materials. Okay, we're at that part of the presentation. I've probably gone a little bit over. I do apologize to whoever I need to apologize to. But really, just to wrap up then, the key takeaways for today, that materials, are only as good as the decisions behind them. That's important. We need to be selecting, adapting, designing materials based on decisions. Start with learning. Avoid the temptation just to take something into a class because it looks nice and it's shiny and it's popular and everybody's using it. Yeah. Think about the learning first. Adapt before create. Adaptation is definitely the way to go. And then maybe the more you adapt, then you may find yourself creating, and that's great. Who knows? You may end up going into materials creation, career. You never know. Adapt it to fit your context, and beware of AI. Use AI, but what we need to remember is that AI can produce the material, but it's the teacher that makes the decisions on the pedagogy. The AI won't do that, can't do that, shouldn't do that. It's the teacher. It's the famous human in the loop that has to be there with AI. And then finally, just evaluate it. Evaluate it, evaluate it, evaluate it, and keep evaluating it. And with that, I thank you very, very much for joining. And remember, the best material isn't the most beautiful, the most technological, or even the most authentic. It's the one that helps your learners in your context learn and achieve the learning objective. Something to remember, something to think about. And good luck with your material adaptation, materials creation. And thank you very, very much for joining this morning.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much. It was very insightful and powerful. You gave us a lot of food for thought. Is it going to be suitable for my reality? What will my learners be able to do? What can we adapt? Do I use this material or not? And also that powerful framework at the end you provided. Wow, I'll make sure to use it. Thank you so much. And
Thank
now
you very
some
much.
quick, thank you, Andrew. And now some quick reminders. You only need to register once during the 2 days. The recordings will be available with the same link you're using today or the link that you used yesterday. At the end of the day, we'll post a link with the last survey, which will be used by REDIBAN to generate your proof of attendance. And now, moving on to our next session, I'd like to introduce Sergio Duran. Sergio has been a professional in the ELT field for more than 20 years. He's been a teacher trainer, exam trainer, materials writer, speaking examiner, project manager, head of languages department, and researcher for various prestigious institutions. Today, he will be talking about teachers who participated in the lesson planning for low-tech contexts course and will reflect on their experiences following the 12-week program they completed at the beginning of this year with British Council. Welcome, Sergio.
Hey there. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. I am very honored to be here at this Jornada REDIBAN. Thank you for the kind presentation. I would like to thank COSAC and the British Council for having me here. It's an honor to be representing not just these two institutions now, but also all my consultant colleagues that were part of this project, and of course the hundreds of teachers that were part of this amazing project led by COSAC and the British Council. So I was also I would like to congratulate COSAC for REDIBAN, this new initiative. I was lucky enough to be present last Tuesday when this project was presented and launched. And I think it's going to be really helpful for not just for, for the system itself, but for teachers, for people that are actually going to take advantage of this new project, this new website, and all the different benefits that is going to offer. So thank you so much for being here. As in the nice introduction that was given, I am going to share with you some experiences and reflections from a project that I took part in last, January, February, March this year. And well, this is a big project that is also part of this initiative of REDIBAN and the collaboration with the British Council. So I know that when you probably saw this program, you may thought, well, it's going to be just a presentation about the course. So hopefully, well, I will try to do this a little bit more interactive. I know that some participants of the course are probably here, and well, I would like to say hi to all of them. But also for those that didn't take part in this course, I think it's going to be very interesting to learn about it, because I'm sure that REDIBAN and the British Council are going to be doing a lot of these new courses in the future. So it's great for you to be here, so you learn about this and you get a general insight of what the course was about. Okay. Okay, so let me start by saying what we're going to be doing today. Yeah. First, I'm going to tell you who was this course for. Yeah. I will try to explain some of the different context where most of the teachers come from. I'm going to tell you why it was decided to do lesson planning. Then we're going to talk about the context and the content of this course. We're going to discuss together if this course was relevant or could be relevant for you. And then in the last part, we're going to be discussing about the takeaways, right? The learnings from the tutors, from the content, and the experience of sharing, right? Thank you very much for all of you that are already commenting in the chat box. Remember that this is not, I wouldn't like it to be only a presentation. Yeah, it's great to see you there taking part in this talk, commenting, replying, interacting with me. That is what I usually enjoy the most about this kind of presentations. Okay, so let's start with the next slide. Yeah. So who thought of the course? Of course, it was thought of, COSAC and the British Council, when they started working together, they made a diagnostic. Yeah. I think it's very important for every project that there is a prior diagnostic to learn more about the context, to learn more about the teachers, in this case, to learn more about the students. Yeah. And well, after the diagnostic was run in 5 states in Mexico, it was decided that, COSAC and the British Council, they decided that it was a good idea to start in Chiapas and Oaxaca, right? These 2 states. Why? Well, because they thought it was the places or the states where where teachers could get more benefit and where students could get more benefit from a course like this. Yeah, we understand that there is difficult geography, difficult conditions. After the diagnostic, they also learned and they also realized that the access to technology was not the best. So that's why they thought that this course, lesson planning for low-tech classrooms, was the best. Yeah, because, well, this course could help teachers with their lesson planning, especially in the conditions that were discovered during the diagnostic. Yeah, okay. So why lesson planning? I want you to go to the chat box, please, and help me answering the following questions. Yeah, I'm going to be asking you questions in the chat box. Yeah. So, oh, sorry. Give me a second. I am trying to. Well, the first question is very, very simple. Yeah. The first question is, why do you think lesson planning? Why do you think lesson planning is the main idea of this course? Yeah, I want you to help me. Oh, sorry, I am moving the. Yeah, there you go. Why do you think lesson planning is part of this course? Yeah, why was it decided lesson planning? Can you go please to the chat box and tell me why do you think lesson planning was the topic for this first course? Yeah, I know you are already mentioning some stuff in the chat box. Can you, okay, some answers. Yeah, to know where to go and how to get there. Yes, that's a good point. It is the main purpose. It is to make teaching more intentional and more organized. Thank you. More effective. Yeah, more organized. Yeah, because planning gives you a clear, the course help us. Oh, probably a participant. We need to create a sense of order, help to organize how to get the main goal. Yeah, to have a clear guideline to teach our students, because planning helps us organize the contents. Yeah, I mean, if you have some experience teaching, we understand that planning is only a step before the actual teaching. But if you know how to plan well, you're going to have a lot of different elements there that are already fixed before the class, right? And it's not just planning, yeah, but it's also the idea of how to teach these different subjects, how to teach grammar, how I can plan teaching vocabulary, how I can plan a skills lesson. Yeah, so lesson planning, it's only a step, but it involves a review of everything. It involves a review of a lot of our skills for teaching, right? I have another question for you. When you think of low tech, what do you think when you hear low tech? And I have another question. Do you think that some of your classrooms, some of your contexts could be included in this low tech context? Go to the chat box and tell us, please. What do you think about that? Do you think that low tech, what is low tech, and if it can apply to your classroom, to your context? Yeah, lack of resources, no internet. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Let's try to focus on low tech. Maybe technology that is not sophisticated but very elementary. Yes. Low tech or not tech at all. Okay. It provides us. Okay. No internet connection. Maybe. Yeah. Lack of access to internet. Yeah. Or something that is easy to use, even with no technology. Yes, that's a good point. No energy, no internet. Okay, good. Yeah, I think we're on the right track, right? Yeah, we are talking about context in which either there is internet access, but it can be slow internet access. Maybe there is internet access, but there are not enough computers, there are not enough devices to access internet. Maybe the teacher needs to work at home and then take, I don't know, a presentation or a game already downloaded in their laptop in order to make it work. Yeah. So low tech can mean different things. Yeah. So again, after the diagnostic that was run by REDIBAN and the British Council, it was decided that lesson planning in low tech could be a good idea in order to make not just teachers, but students get a good benefit out of the project that we were, in this case, doing. Yeah. So, well, some more people are talking about that. There are many strategies if you don't have tech. Okay. They're talking about lesson planning. They're talking about conditions. You need to be creative. Yeah. Okay. Good, good, good. So the first question was, who was the course for? Yeah. And if you look at the image, yeah, there are two states signaled there, and those are the states of Oaxaca and Chiapas. Again, after the diagnostic, it was decided that these two states were the two states where the collaboration between British Council and REDIBAN was going to start. Yeah. As you know, well, these states are really diverse. They have a very, let's say, complex geography. Yeah. And I think it was the best place to start for this project. Yeah. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the context. Yeah. Um, mm, 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 yeah. The context of this project. Only in Chiapas, there were 76 participants, yeah, of which 49 of them were women and 27 men, yeah. Then we have there also this graphic in which it is mentioned the kind of context, particularly talking about urban or rural, yeah. If these teachers were settled in a city, if they were settled in a rural area, right? 76 of them, they were settled in an urban area, and only 24% of them were settled in a rural area. Yeah. Okay. In Oaxaca, the numbers are a little. Oh, is it bugging my audio? Okay. In Oaxaca, it was a little different, right? The context was a little different, even if these two states sometimes are considered to be similar. Of course, they are very different, right? The number of participants was higher. We had 156 teachers that were taking part in this project, of which 93 of them were women and 63 of them were men. Yeah. The context was different as well. 51% of them were settled in a rural area, whereas 49 of them were settled in a city, probably, right? So as you can see, the context is very different from Oaxaca. The one in Oaxaca and the one in Chiapas were different. Yeah. Okay. So I also want to tell you about the face-to-face sessions. Yeah. So this project started with face-to-face sessions. Yeah. In this case, in Chiapas, the face-to-face sessions were scheduled in 4 different places, 4 different municipalities. It was the capital, Tuxtla Gutiérrez, in Tapachula, Palenque, and Comitán. Okay, so teachers from those areas were concentrated in these 4 municipalities. Yeah, of course, teachers didn't only come from those municipalities. Some of them had to travel at least 2 or 3 hours, or sometimes fewer minutes, but they were concentrated in these 4 municipalities to start with the course to a face-to-face session. Yeah. In Oaxaca, it was the same. Yeah. Teachers were concentrated in 4 municipalities. That is the capital, Oaxaca City, also Tuxtepec, Salina Cruz, and Huajuapan de León. Yeah. I was very lucky to be assigned to go to Tuxtepec. That was a place that I didn't know much about before, and I got to meet very interesting and very nice teachers there. Well, it's a nice place to go. Yeah. So if someone here is from Tuxtepec or that was in those sessions, hello. It's good to see you again, right? So again, some teachers also had to travel 1 hour and a half, 2 hours in order to be concentrated in these face-to-face sessions. That were the sessions with which we kicked off this project. Yeah, the kickoff session was a face-to-face session and they were concentrated in these 4 places. Okay, yeah. I am just going to go to the chat box a little bit to see how was the face-to-face session. It's going to be sessions like that in Mexico City. We don't know yet. Remember that, again, this is only the first project that took part or in which the British Council and REDIBAN collaborated together. Of course, more of these projects are being planned, and I am sure that in the future, many of you are going to be benefited by taking one of these courses. Maybe they can be maybe only online. I am going to tell you a little bit about the online sessions now. Okay, so good. Questions about this? Any comment? Okay. I was also going to tell you that this lesson planning in low tech, well, it is, even if the approach was lesson planning, yeah, we needed to understand the situation of these teachers, right, in front of a class, how to implement technology, or even 21st century skills, interculturality. We understand that their contexts are probably a little bit more difficult than context in other states, right? So that's why there was a face-to-face session that the British Council organized in order to learn more about their context, in order to see by ourselves what these contexts were like. Yeah. And then we started with other sessions. Yeah. Well, here we have some pictures of the face-to-face sessions in Chiapas and in Oaxaca. Some of them were with, I don't know, 20 teachers. Some of them had only 7, 8, 10 teachers. It depended on the center. Well, it depended on the municipality. It depended on the logistics of the project. Yeah. So these were the subsystems that were involved in this project. Again, thank you very much, COSAC and all these subsystems, for facilitating and for making this possible. Yeah, subsystems like CECITES, CONALEP, DGETA-ICM, DGETI, and of course those state high school subsystems, either Chiapas and Oaxaca. All of them were part of this. Yeah. Okay. So it's important to mention and to thank all the people that were part of this, all the people that were facilitating, teachers, and also the centers, the let's say the host centers where these face-to-face sessions took part or happened, basically. Yeah. Okay. So now let's talk about the content. Yeah. Well, before that, I am going to mention that this again, the face-to-face session was only the kickoff session, and then we had 10 live sessions that I think we're going to talk about that in a minute. Yeah, but some of you are talking about that in the chat box, so we're going to go there in a minute. Okay, the content. Yeah. So what was the content about? The content of this project, of this course. Yeah. In a moment, I am going to show you some, let's say, the names of the units of this course. Yeah, the names of the units. But guess what? All of the names of the units had at least 2 or 3 words. So I removed one of the words for you to try to think and try to give me what you think was the second part, or what you think was the other part of the phrase. Yeah, this is again to make this a little bit more interactive, not just me talking about a course that I took part in, but you also trying to take part in this talk and making it a little bit more interactive. So very quickly, I'm going to show you this. I know that for the delay, I will have to wait like 4 or 5 seconds for you to start talking about this. So tell me, what do you think the contents were? Okay, go to the chat box and try to answer this. Yeah, these are of course very common topics, maybe in lesson planning. So which ones do you think were part of this the names of the units in this course. Yeah, some of you are already answering this. Yeah. Okay. All right, some of you are already answering. Yeah, how about the others? Okay. So learners and what? Interaction, stages and differentiated what? Yeah. Okay. So you're gonna tell me. Yeah. All right. Some of you are already mentioning some of the answers. Some of them are correct. I'm not gonna give you the right answers just now. I will allow some of you to keep working on that. By the way, I see people from everywhere in Mexico. Thank you very much. From the state of Veracruz, where I am from, actually, the state of Tamaulipas, the state of Puebla, Tlaxcala, state of Mexico. Yeah, nice. Hello, everybody. Strategies and no. Okay. All right. I am reading your replies. Okay, thank you so much. I think you're on the right track. Yeah, okay. There are people from Sonora, from Baja California. There are people from everywhere, basically. So it's great to have Tabasco. It's great to have you here. It's great to have so much diversity. People from different subsystemas, people from different places of Mexico, people from different areas, either urban or rural. All of us have different experiences, of course. So the point of this is not, of course, making this only a unique experience. All of us are going to have different experiences, but it's important for us to have this dialogue in which people from different contexts talk about it. Okay, so I'll give you the right answers now. I think you all had enough time. So yeah, some of the content that we studied in this course were, for example, learners and context, where where teachers were encouraged to analyze their context and to learn more about their learners, because if you don't know who your learners are, it's difficult to plan a lesson for them, right? We also had a look at aims and objectives. This is particularly one of my favorite stages of this course, because if you have a clear objective, a clear aim, it is a lot easier to plan your lesson. I always think that the aim or the objective is the main part of the lesson plan for me. If you have a good aim and objective, then the plan is just it just flows, right? Also about materials and activities, how to prepare materials, how to implement them in different activities, interaction patterns. I think it's very important, especially in big classes like yours. Some of you told us that you have 30, 40, 45 people, right? So of course it is always very important to know how to manage this interaction, how to make students work in groups, how to make students work in pairs. Stages and sequences, yeah, how to make your sequence in the lesson flows, right? Make it feels natural for students to move from one activity to another. And of course, differentiated learning. Everybody in your class is different, and of course, sometimes it's impossible to take into account the 50, the 45, the 38 students in one session, but it's a good idea to at least try to plan for 2 or 3 different kinds of learners. Sometimes it's impossible to plan for everybody, right? Thank you very much. I see people again from Hidalgo, from different places. Some of you are celebrating that you had all the answers correct. Congratulations for you. Yeah. So quick question for you. Go to the chat box and tell me which of these topics in the content of the course do you think would be more useful for you in your own context, in your own classroom? Which of these units in the course would be the most useful for you? Yeah, go to the chat box and tell me very quickly. I would like to learn. I would like to hear from you which of these would be, in your opinion, the most important one for you in your context? Yeah, some of you are saying that materials and activities. Yeah. How about the others? Come on, don't be shy. Go to the chat box and tell us which of these units in this course would be the most useful in your own context, thinking about your own students, thinking about your own school. Yeah. Which of these would be the most useful? Yeah. I am not seeing many. I am not seeing many answers. Come on, guys, don't be shy. Tell us more about the kind of which of these would be the most useful for you. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, I'm not seeing many of you replying there. Only a few of you are replying. Come on, I would like to get more answers, people. More answers. Yeah. Not many. Okay, that's all right. No problem. Okay, so having mentioned all the different topics that were covered in this course, in the project, I would like to move now on the mode of study. Yeah, because the mode of study was a little different. Yeah, okay. So here I'm going to show you the mode of study. Yeah, there were, as we said before, there was a face-to-face session. Yeah, there was a face-to-face session at the beginning of the course. Yeah, it was a kickoff session. Yeah, and then there were 10 pre-workshop. Yeah, 10 pre-workshops. These pre-workshop tasks were tasks that that teachers had to do independently. Yeah, so all of them were contained in this fantastic printed material that the British Council prepared for the project. Yeah, it was distributed by different centers in Chiapas and in Oaxaca, and the face-to-face session was also thought for giving this to all the different teachers that were going to take part in the course. Okay, so again, the mode of study was very well organized in a kickoff face-to-face session, then 10 pre-workshop tasks that were independent. Teachers did those activities during their, I don't know, their free time, probably after school. And then there were 10 live workshops. Yeah, every week there was a live workshop in which teachers came with their tasks, with their results. Yeah, and that live session was really enriching because it was about sharing our pre-workshop activities as well as discussing. There were many different activities about the topic that was selected, the task that was done during the pre-workshop task. Okay, and there was at the end of the course one last live session for closure. Yeah, in which of course we all had a wrap up of the course. We all discussed. We all thought of the good things. Of course, there were many areas where I am sure that we're going to work together with Rediban to make this course better and to make the organization or the implementation or the delivery of the course better. And that's why this live session was very important, and it was really interesting for us to have a closure of the course. Yeah, okay, good, excellent. So Why is it now? Okay, after describing the content, after describing the context, after describing the mode of a study, how we worked, and how everything was implemented, yeah, I would like to talk to you about probably the most important part of this, yeah, the results, yeah, why teachers in their areas or in their places thought it was a good idea or not. Okay, I'm seeing the comments there. Okay, good. So I would like to go to you, back to you, people in the chat box. Tell me, why could a course like this be relevant to you? Yeah, go again and think of the different reasons why you think that this course, in general, not just the topics, but the implementation, the tasks, why you think this course could be relevant to you. Yeah, I will try to read in the chat box your comments. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I don't see many comments. I don't know if there is maybe I am not reading them for a reason. Okay. Yeah, I am not seeing them, but don't worry. Yeah. Okay. Good. No problem. We can manage that. So I assume that some of you are mentioning all your. Yeah, I am going to go then to see your comments in a minute. Thank you for you. Okay. So, okay, because you can take some strategies and apply them. Okay. Ooh, many comments. Okay, good. It's important to hear students, to upgrade our teaching, to improve our skills, to become better reflective teacher. It's relevant for planning. Okay. Woo, a lot of comments. Create more effective environments, because yeah, updating, basically improving as a teacher, making it more relevant for my students. I think you're doing really well there. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on. I think we still, yeah, I am I think the time, it's good, yeah, okay. Now, so many of the participants in the course said that this course was relevant because of three different aspects. First, the tutors, yeah, not just Sergio, but all the different tutors there. Thank you to all. I'm not going to mention the names of them because I might miss one, and then that would be kind of well, embarrassing for me. So thank you, everybody. The comments were fantastic for you. Also, some of the participants mentioned that the content was really well organized, really effective, and relevant for their context. And also, also some of them, a good part of them, mentioned that it was the experience. Yeah, going to a live session, talking to people that are part of the same subsistema, or maybe from different subsistemas, but that are based on the same area, or maybe in different areas. Maybe I live in Tuxtla Gutierrez capital, but my colleague lives in a rural area near Tuxtla. So how different my context is from his or hers. I think that sharing experience was also really interesting, and that's some of the things that our participants mentioned. Yeah. So some of them mentioned again that the learning comes from the tutors. Yeah. And all of us were really enthusiastic tutors. Of course, they have a lot of experience, certifications, and let's say all the fantastic background that provided participants with a lot of different ideas. Yeah. So in the live sessions, I think it was a lot about sharing and a lot about learning from the tutors. Yeah. The content, because as you could see, the content was really well organized and it was easy to follow. Yeah. Many of the participants mentioned that the units were just that the sequence of the units was carefully thought, it was carefully selected, and that's why it was easy to follow, right? And finally, some of them mentioned that the sharing experience was the most important one. Yeah. So now I am going to mention some of the different comments that come from real participants. These are real participants that were part of the course, and I want you to tell me. For example, in the first one, the green one on top, yeah, that says, es un curso muy completo, etc. Do you think that he or she is referring more to tutors, more referring to the content, or referring to the sharing experience? Go to the chat box and tell me which of these, for example, the first one, the green one, is it referring to tutors, the the sharing experience, or the content? Yeah, tell me. Yeah, sharing experiences, right? Yeah, okay. Good. That is great. Good. Now, the next little comment that says, esta experiencia ha sido sumamente enriquecedora, me sentí acompañada y guiada en cada paso. Do you think that he or she is referring to the tutors, to the content, or to the sharing experience? Again, go to the chat box and tell me the second one, the second comment, who or what is he or she referring to? Yeah. Some of you said the three of them, a combination. Yeah, okay. Next comment, it says, me gustó lo dinámico del curso, la atención de los profesores y todo el contenido. Sí lo recomendaría. Oh, okay. So what do you think it's about? Is it about the tutor, the content, or the sharing experience? Number three. The second green one. Okay. Good. The next one is probably my favorite comment. He or she said, siento una confianza renovada al sentarme a diseñar. Ahora el proceso de planeación me genera la emoción de saber exactamente hacia dónde vamos. Disfruto establecer metas claras. Oh, okay. So this person, what do you think he or she's talking about? He's talking about the tutors, the content, or the sharing experience. Yeah, number four. Number four. Yeah, I am reading all your comments. Yeah, all of it. Yeah, the content and the sharing too. Yeah, okay, the sharing experiences. All of them. Okay. Good. I am going to read. Yeah, I am reading you here. Okay, fantastic. I am going to read the next comment. Yeah, it says, modificó mi creencia en el sentido de clarificar mis objetivos en mi planeación y planear de acuerdo a las necesidades de mis estudiantes. Oh, what do you think he or she is referring to? Again, the tutors, the content, or the learning experience? Yeah. What do you think? All right. Okay, all of them, the sharing experiences. Yeah. Good. Okay, all of them. Yeah. All right. I am going to read the last one. Agradezco el apoyo de nuestro tutor y del equipo del British Council por esta maravillosa oportunidad de poder aprender y mejorar en mi práctica docente. Gracias. Who do you think he or she is referring to? There? Yeah? Okay. The tutor, the content, the sharing experience. Okay. Yeah. Good. Okay. You, I think I can see comments now. I think I am seeing comments again. Yes, I think I can see comments now again. Oh, great. Fantastic. Good. So, a couple of more things to show you. Yeah. Well, this is, of course, I'm going to show you some of the pictures of the live sessions. It's important to mention that the live sessions were delivered via Telegram. That is an app that was thought for low-tech contexts. Yeah. Telegram doesn't need a lot of internet power, let's say. It doesn't need to have a very strong connection. And some of the participants were connected sometimes at their school or at home. I remember some of them, some of you probably because you're here, were connected traveling back home after school. So it was a fantastic effort from all the participants. I would like to thank you again for your big efforts and for making this possible. Yeah, I have another picture for you here. That's actually me. That's my group from Chiapas. Thank you very much, people from Chiapas, and it was fantastic. Also, my people from Oaxaca, the people that I met in Oaxaca in the face-to-face session, it was fantastic to meet you, and it was great to see very hardworking, committed teachers that are every day trying to do their best in their to make their students' learning experience something enriching. Finally, this is one more picture. Yeah, I think this is a group in Chiapas again, and there is our colleague Raul, and again, fantastic groups and everything. I would like to ask you two more questions. The first, thinking about your context, what do you think? And this is also, we are doing a little research here. What do you think is the most challenging situation in your context? Yeah, let's go to do that. I want you to go to the chat box and tell me, what would you like a course to be about? If you think that maybe in the future, either the British Council or REDIBAN or what would you like to take a course about? Yeah. Go to the chat box and tell me, what would you like to take a course about? What would be the main topic? If you would like to learn more about AI, maybe if you would like to learn more about interculturality, if you would like to learn more about how to implement Escuela Mexicana group management, some of you are saying, go to the chat box and tell me, what do you think would be a good course for your context, for the place where you are working in? Yeah. So AI, good. Okay. Oh, multigrado, yeah. Multigrade, yeah. Materials, that is interesting. Yeah. Okay, well, talking about the cultural aspects of English in terms of sometimes students are not very interested in English, how we can make it interesting for them. Yeah, okay. Yeah, avoid a student, okay. Better assessment. Yeah, assessment is also interesting. Evaluating different levels. Okay. What else? AI with English. Okay. What else? Yeah. Multi-level, okay. Good, good, good. English in the Nueva Escuela Mexicana, engaging students. Okay, excellent. My last question is the following. It's about this moment. It's about this Jornada REDIBAN. Yeah, I want you to go to the chat box. Don't go to the chat box just yet. Listen to the instructions first. I want you to go to the chat box and describe in only one word, use only one word to describe this Jornada REDIBAN. Yeah, go to the chat box and tell us in only one word, how would you describe, how can you think of this Jornada REDIBAN? Yeah, what do you think of it? Great. Okay, that's a very refreshing. Okay, good, 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 good. Okay, awesome, useful, interesting. Okay, excellent, challenging. Okay, I like that one. Yeah, interesting. Good, good, good. All right. Productive. Okay, thank you. Useful. Innovative. All right. Fantastic. Useful and refreshing. Yeah. Incredible. Motivating. Good, good, good. Aha. Amazing, brilliant, important. Reflexive. Okay, good one. That's a good one. Sorry for those that are probably typing that I am not probably paying attention to their comments. I have 100 comments a minute. I'm not even physically able to read all of them. I am reading the majority of them, and I am trying to reply, and I am trying to take into account, because I think this is the most productive thing of this kind of jornadas, right? The interaction between us at the British Council and the REDIBAN in general, with you teachers that are there in the real world, teaching and making your students' lives, well, a lot more productive and easier, probably, right? Okay, well, that's the last thing I'm going to say to you today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for, well, thank you, COSAC. Thank you, British Council. Thank you, everybody involved in this project. Congratulations for REDIBAN. Again, I think it was essential to have something that kind of unite all the different subsystemas and the different contexts and the different kinds of classrooms that we have in Mexico. So thank you so much. And well, that's the end of this presentation. Thank you, everybody who is writing something. Yeah, it's great to see you. Great to read you. There you go.
Thank you, Sergio. Thank you so much, my friend.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's an honor hearing from you, and we listening from your experiences, which I also had the opportunity to be part of. It's awesome. Getting to know these teachers in person was actually eye-opening. And
Exactly.
while you were speaking, Sergio, right? And while you were speaking, Sergio, I saw some of the teachers we met from Oaxaca and Chiapas saying hi. So
yeah, that's the nicest thing about this kind of projects, I think. Getting to meet well, different teachers from different places with different experiences, getting to learn from them, because I don't know if you agree with me, Elder, but learning from them was also something that I really, really cherish from this project. So thank you so much.
yeah, and getting to see the different contexts and realities. Some of these teachers come from, as you said, from different areas, remote areas, complicated areas, in the sense that they sometimes they lack of certain resources, and they're doing a great job. So it's
Yeah.
commendable.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Totally.
amazing. Yeah, thank you so much, Sergio, for presenting the outcomes of this project.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sergio. And now we are ready for the final presentation of this Jornada REDIBAN 2026. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Citlali Arce Palacios, whom I've also worked with, and I truly admire for her professionalism and kindness. Citlali has been a teacher for more than 15 years, working in both private and public institutions, as well as a pre-service and in-service teacher trainer. Since 2022, she has collaborated as moderator, speaker, teacher trainer, and academic consultant for the British Council. In her session today, she will provide an overview of the Continuing Professional Development Program for upper secondary, media superior education English teachers, including its learning pathways, training methodology, and implementation process. Welcome, Citlali.
Thank you so much, Helder, for that lovely introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here today. I know this is the last presentation and it is Friday, and maybe you're a little bit tired, but I bring some news for you, and I think that they are exciting. So, as I was saying, I'm really honored to be here and be the one who brings really good news for you. I know that some comments were saying and highlighting that. The experience from Chiapas and Oaxaca is lovely, is something that maybe you want to experience also, and that is what I am going to talk about today. So along these 2 days, we have had a lot of opportunities to see great ideas, new methodologies, interesting proposals that we can implement in our classrooms. But now we can say, oh, yes, I like the jornada. It was eye-opening. It was a good experience. We could share some of our thoughts, some of our experiences, and also realities about our contexts. And then it is just 2 days, and maybe you start your courses, and then that is all. No, it is not going to be all. I will present the training pathways, and this is a plan that COSAC and the British Council have for the upcoming months for you teachers. So first of all, let me start with the presentation. Okay, so the agenda for this presentation is the following. I'm going to talk about the CPD framework from the British Council, that it is something that yesterday Jake was also talking about. So for the ones who were here yesterday, you already have a taste of this. And I am not going to speak a lot about this framework. It is just something that I want to highlight and how we based the design of these pathways. And then we're going to specifically talk about the training design. Then I am also going to talk about the platform that we will be using for the training, the pathways, their characteristics, and their components. And then I am going to talk about the important dates that you have to take into account. Well, with no further ado, the British Council has a lot of experience regarding continuing professional development for teachers. And a long time, they have been modifying a little bit this framework. This is the latest version that was reviewed and prepared last year, to 2025. And this is like a dynamic process. We know that teaching and the world and the reality in learning changes constantly, and especially in these last years. So this redesign obeys like to these changes. Now we have 11 professional practices that you can see along the circle, and it is like with colors so that we can also have a very visual way of understanding these different professional practices. And they cover like the global way in which we understand teaching and learning. If you see the circle, we also have some arrows that go below. And they talk about the stages of development that we can have when we are following this framework. So they come from the awareness stage, in which we are just like touching a point and we can understand, at least in general terms, what do these professional practices refer to. Then we move to understanding. Then we move to then to engagement, and then to integration. So the idea here is that we can have like a big picture of all the stages that we can touch point on. And we can also put into practice in the classroom that it is like the final idea of this framework. So it covers these 11 practices. And for example, we talk about managing the lesson, using technology, planning the lessons, how can we work with materials, etc. So based on this, well, before I go there, I want to let you know that it was not just something that we took and copy as it is. So before planning all this CPD for you teachers, there was a lot of research. There was a very complex work in which, we as teachers sometimes feel that the things that sometimes the authorities offer or the training that we receive was planned just behind the desk, and that it doesn't fit the reality that we live in every classroom. Believe me, teachers, we are also teachers, and we know that this is something common, and this is a common sense. But I want you to know that this was not the case. This design and all these pathways are based on research. So maybe some of you participated in this research. We went to your classrooms. We had classroom observations. We also talked to some of you. We had some surveys in which you participated and you said your real needs, the things that you are struggling with in your everyday classrooms. It is also related to things that we saw in your classrooms, some things that you let us know that, okay, I have like a very large classroom. I cannot manage like 60 students at the same time. And how can we integrate technology if we don't have even like energy in my classroom, etc. So we listen to all these characteristics. We all know that, we can have differences between states. Okay, even between in the same state, we can have differences. We can have access to different resources. We can have also, we know that you have a lot of subsystems and they are different. So we are trying to listen to your real needs and the real needs of your students. And that is the thing that we took into account in order to design these learning experiences. So I'm going to talk about the training design. So this training design is divided into two different parts of the work that we are going to be developing, okay? The first part is going to be done using a platform. This platform is from the British Council and it is called Teaching for Success. It is possible that some of you have already taken courses using this platform, okay? So here we have a lot of content, and in this case, we did like a selection, okay, of topics, listening to the things that you let us know during this whole research that was done hand in hand with COSAC and some other experts from the British Council and also some institutions. So here in this platform, you will have access to this content, okay? I'm going to speak about the modules and the specific contents in a minute, but this is just like the general overview of it. So we're going to ask you to do these modules as a self-study and a self-paced course. And then we are going to combine it with some webinars, just as the one that we are having now. And in these webinars, you're going to have contact with a tutor that, of course, is an expert, okay, in the topic. And we are going to be guiding the conversation, the reflection. And the point here is that you can use all the things that you learned in the class, in the platform, so that you can apply it, that you can see how can you share it with other teachers, your experiences, and consolidate all this knowledge that you got from the platform. I'm going to move a little bit and I'm going to show you how does the platform look like, okay? So when you are already registered in the platform, you are going to see something like this. We're going to have two different panels, and in these panels, you're going to have the content. So I'm going to move a little bit. So here in the box, I am showing you what are you going to be able to see in the panel. So there you have all the units and all the components of that module. And then in the other panel, you can see the content itself. One of the things that I most like about this platform is that it invites you to reflect a lot, okay? So you're going to find a lot of spaces in which you can be reflecting. We really ask you to do these reflection exercises, okay? Because, of course, and we know that, for example, our students can do this, that we have reflect a little bit and then we click next. And we don't have the time or the interest sometimes in doing the reflection. But if you let me say this, this is one of the best things from the platform and one of the best exercises that we will be performing there, okay? The reflection on how can you apply all the things that you are learning there into your classroom. How can you understand this content and then make it yours, you know? Like do like the whole mental process of understanding, and also how can you apply it. I think that well, this has happened to me when we're just like reading something and you can say like, yes, this happens in my classroom, or oh, maybe this is something that I haven't considered. Okay, so these reflective exercises are really valuable, and I really invite you to take the time to do these reflections. We also invite you to have maybe a notebook or a place where you can take notes, because then in the webinar, you can also use these notes in which you can start the discussion with the tutor that will be guiding you there, okay? So every time that you use the Teaching for Success platform and you complete a module, every module has 3 different units, okay? So here I am showing you the 3 screenshots of like the first part of every unit. And when you complete all the exercises, all the reflections, and the quiz that we have as a review of every unit, the platform is going to give you automatically a 3-hour certificate, okay? As the one that I am showing there on the screen, okay? So you finish your module, you finish your 3 units, and then you get a certificate. This certificate, it is from the British Council, okay? But that is not all, okay? We told you that we designed pathways, okay? So I'm going to talk about the pathways, okay? I'm going to stop a little bit from the platform. I'm going to speak about the pathways, and then you're going to see how they relate, okay? So first of all, we have the 2 pathways are called foundation and consolidation. If you remember the framework that I showed at the beginning, we have the different stages of development, okay? So in the foundation pathway, we are going to be learning or reviewing. This is important, okay? We know that not every module is going to show you new things because we are teachers, right? But then the thing is that we can refresh some of these concepts. In some cases, know some of these concepts. We are really aware, as I said at the beginning, that we have different contexts. We have different backgrounds as teachers, okay? So the thing here is that every teacher is going to select, okay, the pathway that best fit their needs, okay? So as I said, the foundation focus on understanding, and it is divided into different themes. I'm going to talk about this detail in a minute. Then we have the consolidation pathway, and the point of this one is to deepen, okay, the existing knowledge that you have. So the thing here is that we are going to reinforce, and as it says, deepen the understanding or the knowledge that you already have in specific topics that was shown that we need to develop a little bit more, or that can fit the needs of our students. I'm going to talk about the topics, and maybe they are going to ring a bell for you. It is also divided into 2 teams, okay? So how is this going to work? Here I have a diagram showing the general terms of the pathway A, that, remember, it is the foundation one, okay? So it is divided into 2 different teams, okay? The first team is relates to large classes and resources for language work. Okay, so the modules are going to be giving you tips and giving you some guidance on how to work with large classes. That I think that is something that you have been mentioning constantly during these 2 days. And also some strategies on how to work, for example, with pronunciation, with listening, okay? After these 4 modules, okay, you're going to have the webinar. Then we're going to have the team number 2, and it is related to productive skills and feedback. So here we're going to be working on the communicative abilities of writing, speaking, and how can we provide effective feedback. Then you also have your second webinar, okay? I'm going to move to the second pathway. Pathway B is called consolidation, and it is also divided into 2 teams. So the first one is working with large classes. It sounds similar to the previous one, right? But when you register to this training program, you're going to receive a very detailed chart in which you can see the team, the module, and the aim of every module, okay? So here the thing is that it's going to be your homework to read these aims and to identify which of these 2 pathways is going to fit more the needs that you currently have, okay? So we are not going to impose any of the pathways. The thing here, and the keyword that I would describe these pathways is flexibility, okay? We are not going to impose. You're going to be the ones who select the thing that you want to study, that you want to go deeper in, okay? So the second team is writing and assessment. And in this team, we also touch some points about motivation. I saw some comments of you saying that maybe we are giving a lot of things, a lot of effort, but the students don't want to learn. We are also touching points on motivation, okay? So I want you to know that we really have carefully selected the topics, okay? So we were looking for things that can be useful for you. We want these pathways to be meaningful, okay? And I think that no matter in which stage of our teaching career we are, every time we have opportunities to learn something new, we can also have opportunities to develop a little bit more. And then this can benefit our students. Well, I'm going to move a little bit. Okay, so I told you that whenever you finish a module, this platform is going to give you a 3-hour certificate, okay? But we are also providing a project validate certificate that it is going to be also valid for COSAC, okay? And it is going to have a value of more than 20 hours of training, okay? How can we get this project validated certificate? Well, we are going to ask you to complete 2 different teams, okay? How are you going to complete this? You are going to review the modules that correspond to that team, and you must attend to the 2 webinars, okay? If you accomplish all these 2 things, you are going to get your certificate, okay? We know that maybe when you read the aims of every content, you want to say like, oh, I really want this one from foundation, but I also need this one from consolidation. Don't worry. As we said, this is flexible, okay? So I'm going to give you some examples on how can we combine this. Okay, so in some cases, we can go by colors, okay? So we can complete 2 teams using, for example, only pathway A, that it's the purple one, okay? So you cover team number 1, team number 2, you attend the webinars, and you get your certificate. On the other hand, we have the consolidation, okay? So again, you complete team number 1, team number 2 from consolidation, that is the blue one, and then you are done. But you can also mix it. Remember, flexibility, okay? So we can work on the team number 1 from the pathway A, and then the team number 2 from pathway B, and then we have 2 teams completed, and that is done. But if you are completely eager to learn everything, you can also do it, okay? The only thing that maybe can be challenging is that time, okay, can be maybe sometimes an obstacle, okay? But if you manage your time and you are interested in covering all the modules and all the teams, be my guest, okay? So here the thing is that you can combine it according to your needs. Well, so I see some comments saying, yes, I want it. How can we access to the platform? When do we start, right? So we are really happy because of that. So let me show you, okay? The steps that we have to follow are the next, okay? So first, you have to register to the training. When? How? My last slide has a QR code in which you can register, okay? And be careful because we have limited spots, okay? So the fast, the better, okay? Then you're going to select your pathways, okay? Once that you register to the training, you're going to receive, okay, some material, and then you're going to receive the program, you're going to receive the agenda of the course so that you know how you have to work on this, okay? Then you're going to select your pathways using this material. Then you're going to complete the corresponding modules online. You have also to attend the webinars and complete a very small survey that serves as evaluation. And then completing these two teams, you get your certificate, okay? So when you register to the course, okay, you are going to receive these two infographics, okay? So in these two infographics, we have every detail that you should know, okay? So the dates in which you have to be working on the platform, you are going to see the name of the module, you are going to analyze the aims of each module, and you also have the dates for the webinars, okay? So all the information is there. You're going to receive all these infographics in your email, okay? So that you can select and then start working on your modules. I see a lot of comments saying, how much? Okay, how can I buy it? It is for free teachers, okay? So we know that sometimes it is expensive to pay for this kind of training. In this case, you don't have to pay anything. The only thing that you have to pay is with time and dedication, okay? So I think that it is going to be very useful for us, but it demands time, okay? So we need to make this commitment, okay? So that you can cover all the contents on time and attend the webinars, okay? We know that it is difficult because we're talking about the whole country, right? And we have limited spots, okay? But if you want, you are going to be part of this training, and I think that the results are going to benefit our students everywhere, okay? So, important dates that we have to consider. The registration period starts at the end of this presentation, okay? And it's going to be open until next week, okay? So hurry up, because remember, we have limited spots, okay? Then the access details are going to be arriving to your email, okay, in this week of September from the 21st to the 25th, okay? Then you are going to be able to enter to the platform starting in the last week of September. And the first webinar is the last week of October, okay? So if you see starting your work in the platform, you have 1 month to work on this and get ready for the first webinar, okay? So remember that we were talking about maybe covering both pathways, okay? We have 1 month in order to cover these modules, okay? And as it is self-paced, okay, you have to manage your time so that you can cover the modules, okay? So we are not going to have a permanent access. I see that some people say, if you have access forever, no. We have access just during the time that we're going to have this training open, okay? That it will close in March, okay? But remember that in order to get your certificate that has or that backs more than 20 hours of training, you have to cover the 2 teams and the webinars, okay? Yes, some of you are asking if you can take both pathways. Yes, you can take both. You can combine. You can take only one. Okay. Okay, something important. Some of you are saying that you are already taking courses in the COSAC website that I think is ReadyBan. These are going to be set in a different platform. Okay, we're going to have information in ReadyBan. Of course, we can also have information there, but the platform is another one. Okay, I am reading your questions. Yes, you can apply immediately. Okay, I am reading more comments. If you have questions, please ask now. Okay. Okay, ABC de las emociones is not from the British Council, so maybe you can ask in COSAC. It is for free, remember. You don't have to pay anything. Okay. Okay, some people are asking about the time of the first webinar. It's going to be at 12. Okay. The platform that we use is Teaching for Success from the British Council. Okay, the link is in a moment. We're going to share the link. No cost, yes. So, yes, I will give you and provide the registration link through a QR code. And production is also going to share it with you here in the chat box. Okay, it is not compulsory. Okay, that is something important also. You are not obliged to take it, okay? But I think that it is a very good opportunity. You know, the talks that we have today and yesterday are just a sample of what we're going to be having in the following months, okay? Some people are asking about the length of the webinars. They are 1 hour long, okay? Okay. Remember that these pathways are different from the jornada, okay? So you will receive also a document from attending the jornada, but then the pathways is another different thing. Okay, it is not going to be available directly on COSAC platform, that is ReadyBan, okay? But there you can also check out information about it, okay? Yes, Virginia, the platform is for free. The access is for free. The only thing that you have to do is to register. Okay. Okay. Very well. Okay. So I am just looking at more comments. Okay, so I'm going to share now the link so that you can scan it. Okay. So please register now so that you can have a spot here. Okay. So there you have the QR code. Please scan it and register quickly. Okay. So please use your device in order to scan the code or take a screenshot so that you can do it later. Remember, the registration is going to be open starting now until next week, okay? But if we fill all the spaces, it is going to close earlier, okay? Some people are asking if you need a specific English level. Well, all the content in Teaching for Success is in English, okay? The schedule for the webinars, you can consult it when you register, okay? Okay. No, the webinars are not at the same time. We have one day for Pathway A webinar and another day for B. Exactly because if you decide to take both, you have the opportunity to take also the webinars, okay? The QR code is appearing now on the screen, so Okay, about the permission or if you have class, you have to talk with your authorities, okay, directly, so that they can allow you to skip the class if it is the case. Okay, okay. I am reading the questions. Okay. So please, if you have more questions, keep writing here. We will read them all, okay? But now it is about time to close this presentation. Thank you so much for your attention. I think that this can be motivating and it's exciting for you as it is for us. So we hope that you register and see you around. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Citlali. Thank you so much for that. It was amazing, really, really insightful. And well, I saw lots of comments of teachers excited about these free programs. And the question is, can I also register and get my certificate?
You are all welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll try to rush so I can get my spot because as you
Excellent.
mentioned, there aren't many places, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
So
thank
you
you.
have to hurry. Thank you so much.
You have to hurry. Yes, I will. I'll make sure to do that. Invitation for you teachers to go ahead and register quickly because the spots are limited. And well, we're almost wrapping up. But first, I would like to know how you guys are feeling. If you can please write down in the chat any final comments, how you guys felt, what was the talk that you benefited the most from, what would you like to see in the coming sessions. They're thanking Citlali, yes. Remember that to obtain the proof of attendance, you have to register for your participation in the survey. Yes. Have you had the chance to participate with the British Council? Please write down those comments because we want to read you. We are very interested in knowing how you guys are feeling, how you guys felt. It's very interesting. Yes, you could apply it in your own context. When are we gonna get our car certificate? It'll take some time. I don't have the exact time because it has to be done by COSAC, but you'll get it for sure. Just make sure to input the right data. Very interesting information, right? More ideas for large groups, or you would like more ideas for large groups? Yes, exactly. We would benefit from that. It's always good to listen to or to see different perspectives, on how we teachers tackle those situations. It was a great training. Yes. Could you send the link? Yes, we'll send it in a moment. It says everything was good. The only problem is the time that we have to teach or apply all of these in our classrooms. Yes. Did you see? Did we give you some solutions to tackle that? Mis chicos siempre se han esforzado por comenzar a hablar en inglés, aunque su pronunciación no sea la correcta, pero de esa manera se sienten con confianza para mejorar y no sentir pena al hablarlo. Yes, I think that we teachers, we need to invite students to participate and to work on their fluency more than accuracy, right, at the beginning, because that will give them more trust, more confidence in themselves, and then they will be able to produce more. That is true. Yes, so please also hurry up and fill out this final survey. Also follow the QR provided by Citlali so you can get access to the pathways. It was really a pleasure to take the webinar with you. Really enjoyed it. Was really interesting. Really happy to participate. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us from all over the country. Could you please type where you join us from? I know that it's all over the country, but just to get a better idea. Where are you guys from? We have had the opportunity to visit you in some of your states, and we wish to visit you all soon. Morelos, Colima, Tamaulipas. Okay. Veracruz, Nayarit, Jalisco. Yeah, I'm in Jalisco too, so. Reynosa, Tamaulipas, Cancún, Tlaxcala, Oaxaca. You see, Tlaquepaque, Jalisco. Wow. Guanajuato. All right, Veracruz. Coahuila, all the way from the north to the south. Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua. Jalpa, Zacatecas. Well, hadn't heard of that one. Tuxpan, Veracruz, Monterrey, Durango, Baja California Sur, Zacatecas, Chiapas, Saltillo, Tejupilco. All right. Guadalajara, yay. Guadalajara too. Veracruz, Puebla, Oaxaca, Taxco, Guerrero. Cuauhtémoc, Chihuahua. Very good. Awesome, you guys. Really good. Do you have any final comments, any final questions? From Ciudad Mante, Tamaulipas. Oh, my pleasure. It's my pleasure to be with you guys. Alvarado, Veracruz, Querétaro. Awesome. Any final comments, any questions? We wanted to dedicate this little time for you to feel free to jump in. Yes, you can. The survey, as long as you answer it once, is good for the 2 days. All right. Okay. Very good. So we are. We're now sharing the. Yes, Liliana. Let me. All right. So.
Thank you, Helder.
Thank you. My pleasure. And just a big shout out to all the speakers that have shared with us such valuable information and insights. We're now sharing the link to the survey in the chat and on screen. Please use it to give us your details to produce your certificate of participation. We hope that you have made the most out of this jornada. If you couldn't attend all the sessions live, you can go back to YouTube to watch them over the weekend or in your spare time. The recordings allow you to listen to the sessions in Spanish. I mean, you can add the subtitles in Spanish. Use this feature if needed. So before we say goodbye, I would like to invite Liliana Sanchez, Head of English and School Education of the British Council, Mexico, to share with us a closing message. Thank you all for participation and engagement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helder. Well, without any further ado, we were all very excited to host you. Helder, a big shout out to you for being an amazing Masters of Ceremony for this event. I don't want us to say goodbye without thanking COSAC, Coordinación Sectorial Académica, for putting their trust in the British Council to produce this amazing 2 days of activities. You have heard our speakers talk about different things that could be very useful for you, tools, ideas, suggestions, but most importantly, there is the course that Citlali in the last session invited you to join. This is one of our, I always say our jewels in the British Council, the CPD framework that presents the 11 practices that are internationally recognized as the best practices for any English language teacher. As Citlali said it, and as you saw our consultants participating today and yesterday with you, we are teachers. I am a teacher, 30 years in the classroom. I come from the public sector, student of primary and secondary public sector education. There is a lot to do in Mexico, and we are examples of that. We, for some reason or another, the subject that we like to teach is English, and we need to be the best that our students deserve. So wishing you all the best of lucks after this jornada. This is the very first Jornada REDIBAN. We hope that this continues next year. We will be here for you if our collaboration with COSAC agrees on that. As I said, for basic education, I said it in the beginning when I welcomed you to this event, we have done it before and we will continue to do it. Please be on the lookout for this space and REDIBAN. Some people were asking if we have got, if we are the same platform. No, the REDIBAN is the Ministry of Education COSAC platform for Secretaría de Educación Media Superior. And the pathways that Citlali spoke about Those will sit in our platform. But this course is presented to you, these pathways of development are presented to you in collaboration with COSAC. Okay, so please register, improve as teachers. You will be receiving more information. We are connected now. We have created this amazing community of teachers and professionals. And believe me, we just needed this kickoff. Once we are connected, the community will develop and will carry on. We know this, the British Council knows it, because this is what we do best. Connect people, and our intention, provide quality education in English language teaching to this country. So let's work together. Let's keep on improving. Please don't forget to revisit the recordings as Helder said it. And also complete your survey to get your certificate of participation. Enroll in the pathways. Make sure you also connect with REDIBAN and that you take advantage of the platform created for you by the ministry. These are exciting times. The opportunities are there for you. The offer is there for you. Make the best of it. And from Teacher's Heart to you all, thank you very much. Enjoy the weekend and nos vemos pronto. Seguiremos conectados. Muchas gracias. Buenas tardes. Thank you very much, Helder, and thank you very much to the production team and my two managers, Gabi Garcia and, of course, Adriana Sanchez, who always leads these professional development virtual programs splendidly. And Lily Silva in production, thank you very much as always. To the speakers and everybody, have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.